What's going on, everyone? DAngelo Russell, he was originally drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers and was supposed to be the cornerstone to begin the rebuild of their franchise. And then DAngelo Russell decided to snitch on Nick Young, and it became a whole debacle. They ended up drafting Lonzo Ball, and then thus DAngelo Russell was immediately able to be traded, and so they shipped him off, where he's done a couple stints since then. He was an all-star in Brooklyn and really was a great player for them and looked like a piece that could really be for their future. And then they end up trading him, and then he goes to Golden State, and then he goes from Golden State, and he ultimately landed in Minnesota, and that is where he has been. And the Minnesota Timberwolves have been very promising. They were a great young team this year, gave the Memphis Grizzlies all kinds of fits, and really looked like they could be a team to fear in the future. But reports are coming in that the Timberwolves are willing to trade DAngelo Russell and are shopping him around heading up to the NBA draft. And with DAngelo Russell being the sort of odd man out, because it has shown that they don't need him. However, I will say that all the times that DAngelo Russell delivered and he was, dominant and scoring and facilitating, doing the things that we expect him to do, the Minnesota Timberwolves were literally unbeatable. They have some ridiculous stat when DAngelo Russell scores 18 plus a game. He is a key starter for them in many ways to kind of get the engine going. He just was really inconsistent with the Minnesota Timberwolves. So the Minnesota Timberwolves want to trade him in hopes that they can get a decent return of young players, picks, things for their future, all things along those lines. So the big question is, should the Los Angeles Lakers try to get into the bidding war for DAngelo Russell? Because it goes into multiple things. First off, the Minnesota Timberwolves want to unload the contract. They could get some nice young pieces, such as a Talen Horton-Tucker, maybe a couple draft picks. You could even throw in Kendrick Nunn. But most likely, if this were to happen, there's going to need to be a third team involved. And I'm just throwing this out there as a third team. It could be any team that you want to insert, but say a team like the Indiana Pacers, because DAngelo Russell makes $30 million in the next season, and then he's an expiring contract. So that's it. But with DAngelo Russell, you could unload Russell Westbrook to, say, an Indiana Pacers. Indiana has been rumored to want Westbrook, and they've been willing to give up Buddy Hield and Malcolm Brogdon. I don't know if the Minnesota Timberwolves would want any of these pieces, but you get some draft picks involved, you get some matching salaries involved. I could see the Timberwolves maybe taking on Buddy Hield, a sharpshooter type thing. So maybe you trade Westbrook, first round draft pick, maybe Kendrick Nunn even goes to the Pacers. You get that. You get it like a Buddy Hield and Talen Horton-Tucker with the draft pick headed over to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota gets a young prospect, or maybe they would take a Brogdon and a Buddy Hield. I mean, Brogdon would be he's sort of another Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley has been the sort of heart and soul of that team, and to get a guy like Brogdon, a 3-and-D guard who doesn't need the ball, who can play off the ball, he can play on the ball, he can set things up, they might take a Brogdon. So maybe you work something out along like that where you get those pieces. The Indiana Pacers, they want Westbrook, not for necessarily the player. They want him for the contract that is expiring. You're talking $47 million. But whether it's the Pacers or another team, the point is it's very likely the Lakers would have to get a third team involved and assets and things like that. And if you're going to do that, then your intention is that DAngelo Russell is going to be on your team for the long haul. And so that is something you have to keep in mind if you're curious about this potential trade. Now, with DAngelo Russell, I do think he is a much better fit next to LeBron and Anthony Davis than Russell Westbrook is. And maybe he could get back to being that true to form. If they could get the Brooklyn Nets, DAngelo Russell, then I think that is a really good team. I don't know if it is a contending team, but I definitely think it's a team that could be competitive. You can never rule out LeBron and Anthony Davis. You add in D'Lo, who can get, consistently 15 to 20 a game, even maybe more with LeBron set up. He can play on the ball. He can play off the ball. His intangibles are what the Lakers need more than Russell Westbrook. And so I think if you could move this off, and I just don't see Minnesota ever taking Westbrook, so you'd have to find a team that would take Westbrook and kind of be the facilitator and get some assets in this type of trade. THT is likely got to go out because Timberwolves are going to need something to unload DAngelo Russell. You give up, 2 firsts and maybe a second plus THT for Russell. You give up a first or a couple seconds to the Indiana Pacers for kind of being the facilitator. Maybe Minnesota even throws in a couple second rounds or foreseeable future first protected, something along those lines. You can make it work if there's a third team involved. I just think it comes down to what type of DAngelo Russell are you getting. However, though, if it works, great. You can work on re-signing him and keeping him for the long haul. He is still very young. He's only 26 years old. But if he doesn't work, just like Westbrook was, he's an expiring contract, so you can just let him walk and then use that money to try to sign somebody in the following season, say like a Bradley Beal or something along those lines. Maybe even if DAngelo Russell is tired of shipping around, maybe he'd take $15 million a year to stay in Los Angeles. He wanted to stay in Los Angeles. He loved Los Angeles. The only reason the Lakers traded him was because they just felt they needed to get rid of him because of all the locker room drama. DAngelo Russell is a much better, much more mature player than he was back then. Not just that, but that was more of a Magic Johnson, releasing him rather than a Rob Pelinka. So DAngelo may say, okay, I would be willing to stay here. I'd be willing to come back. You get to play with LeBron. You get to play with Anthony Davis, plus whatever role pieces. I don't know. I think it would be a better fit than Russell, worst case scenario. Thing is would the Lakers trade Russell? And what kind of other packages are out there? The reason I think that this trade could potentially happen is because I don't see a ton of people and teams lining up to take DAngelo Russell. A lot of teams have a point guard or a shooting guard or that combo guard. I don't know if teams would take him on necessarily for the player, and if they want him to kind of be a centerpiece in a rebuild. I'm sure that there are a couple teams that could use scoring. I even made a video of 5 destinations I think DAngelo Russell could go, and I didn't have the Lakers in it because I don't think this would happen. It's more of just a thought that I want to hear from you all. But in those 5 destinations, they're all essentially places that need somebody like DAngelo Russell. But they're all sort of bottom-feeding teams. They're all, you got the Raptors in there who need scoring, but what are they going to really be willing to give up? Stuff like that. I don't know. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think about DAngelo Russell potentially going back to the Lakers? Do you love the idea? Do you hate the idea? Do you think, nah, it'll never happen? Like I said, there's got to be some obstacles to get him, but it's definitely achievable. We have seen stuff like this happen on several occasions. And Westbrook, teams do want Westbrook. I know a lot of people are like, nobody wants Westbrook, blah, blah. He is an expiring contract. There's value in that. Now, it's just what would the Lakers be willing to give up in exchange for that? Because teams don't want to do it for free, even just for the expiring contract. But if you could get a guy like DAngelo Russell, rather than just some role players, a guy who can kind of lead the charge when LeBron's out or not, they may be willing to part with some of those draft picks and stuff to go get, a 20-plus point a game guy. It's something I think is potentially there. But again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.